Hey guys, Mr. Corbin here along with Miss Powell, and we're here to bring you some handy dandy videos to help you in your time of need. And so, what we're talking about today is we're talking about negative exponents. And so, Miss Powell, what are you thinking that we need to start off with here with negative exponents?
Well, just starting off with a simple base x, it's raised to the negative 8 power. Negative exponents are harder to deal with. And if you remember, exponents is repeated multiplication. But when you're talking about that negative, it actually is going to turn it into a division problem.
So basically, what Miss Powell is saying right here in her long, drawn out way is if we have negative exponents, we can't leave them. Okay. We've got to find a way to make them positive. And so what she's talking about is doing a reciprocal. And a reciprocal means like a flip. If you remember with fractions and you do a reciprocal, you do a flip of the fraction, and it just takes the numerator to the denominator and the denominator to the numerator. Well, that's how we change negative exponents into positive. So, Miss Powell?
So you got to think, you can always put divide by 1 to change anything to a fraction. So if you flip it over, the 1 gets on top, the x moves on bottom, and that changes that negative exponent to a positive exponent.
Right. And I know that we talked about this just a little bit in the other video. We actually think of this like an upstairs and a downstairs. And when you're negative, you're not happy. Okay. And so we've got upstairs as the numerator and we've got downstairs as the denominator. And so the only way to make them happy, in other words, to go from negative to positive, is to move. And so if it's negative upstairs, to make it happy, you've got to go downstairs, okay? And if it's downstairs and it's negative, then we got to go upstairs to make it positive, okay?
So if you've got a negative exponent, I go ahead and just put a 1 over.
I think that's really smart, Miss Powell.
And then if you flip it over, the 2 stays the same. The only thing you're changing is the sign of the exponent.
Okay,
now,
so the base stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's something else in there that's really confusing to me that I have to try to explain to students all the time. Where does your 1 come from that is left upstairs?
Well, it's just a placeholder, and it came from that 1 that you put here because you're just flipping it upside down.
Right, right. And so what I want to remind you guys is that we never leave a place blank. Okay. And so I think of it like this. If we're actually moving from upstairs to downstairs, anytime somebody moves, they always leave something behind, right? And so we actually, when we move from the numerator to the denominator, there's a 1 that's left behind up there. Okay. Now, if there were some other things that didn't move, they'll stay, but you certainly don't just leave it blank.
Now, just to see if they understand the concept, they sometimes ask you to change a positive exponent to a negative, which we really would never want to do.
No, we always want them positive, don't we, Miss Powell?
Yes, but sometimes in IXL, they're trying to see that you understand.
Right.
So you put it over 1. Okay. Now, what's going to happen now if I flip it and put 1 on the bottom, the base y stays the same. If you flip it over, that's going to change the sign of that exponent.
Right. And so you just have to remember that whatever, if you want the exponent to change signs, it's got to move. If it's downstairs and you want to change, it's got to go upstairs. And it just goes to the opposite side.
Now, I always kind of think of each one of these as being people. So they all have to have eyeballs.
I think this is kind of silly. You know,
I like eyeballs.
This is fluff.
Now, if it's positive, they're happy where they're living.
Ooh, happy.
If they're negative exponent, they're sad.
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 If I was in Miss Powell's
Happy.
room, like some of you guys, I would be sad. Very sad.
So it depends on what they have. Since A is got a positive exponent, then A is going to stay upstairs.
Okay, now you guys get that? If it's a positive exponent, we leave it where it is. See, these are all different base numbers multiplied together. If they're butted up against each other, that means they're multiplied. There doesn't have to be a dot. So it just stays right there. But what about the negative?
Now, B is unhappy living
B
upstairs.
Is sad. Upstairs.
So if I flip him over, he's going to turn happy.
Okay.
D is not happy being on the bottom.
Now, that was everything that needed to move from the numerator upstairs, right? Okay.
So now I'm going to look at D. D's living downstairs. He's sad. So as soon as I move him upstairs, his exponent becomes positive. E is happy where he is anyway, so I'm not going to move him at all. He's going to stay on that denominator. And that's how you change a problem that has negative exponents to a problem that has all positive exponents.
All right. I hope that helps you guys. We will see you on the next video.